It's 8 o'clock. Let's go ahead and get started here. A few more people joining, but thank you all for being able to find the time to attend tonight. We really do uh, hope you enjoy what we have in store. I got a few reminders as we always do one of these things. Uh, we'll have the feedback form in the chat at some point uh, or at the end, so please do fill that out. And we're always striving to improve these classes for y'all and the rest of the division. So we take the information provided on the form and use that. I also use the seminars AMA thread that's right above this channel, or you can post in the voice channel text chat as you have questions, and we'll kind of keep it rolling conversation. So as you guys got questions, we'll be able to answer. Some of the ZHQ colleagues are here as well, so if you have any questions for division staff, feel free to stick around until the end, and we'll have an open discussion period or a Q&A, whatever you want to call that. If you're planning your night out, there's no event afterwards, so we're planning to go about 45 minutes to an hour, depending on how many questions there are, just for planning purposes there. And I guess last thing from me here, if you've been keeping up to date with the training department, we have the training newsletters that we've been posting every single quarter. So if you haven't read those, I think you'll find the most recent one of interest. It's pretty, in my opinion, pretty important concept there that we're talking about continued education. I think you'll find similarities between those and the seminars themselves, or this seminar specifically. So do go read that. The big idea is to provide recommendations for those who are considering being a staff member and helping communities in their facilities. So that's kind of what we were thinking about when we were working on this project. And whether you hold responsibilities in staff roles or you're kind of looking to move towards that next step in your VATSIM career, in quotations, we hope you find what you need from the presentation. Cool. I'll leave it to the professionals here. So Damien and Dylan, when you guys are ready.
You said professionals. I just want to go on the record.
Yeah, you're
I'm not
professionals.
professional.
You're professional to me.
All right, everyone. Thank you for having me. My name is Damien Lunier. I'm a member of the Jacksonville ARTCC. Been there for a while. Joined VATSIM in 2017, ZGX around 2021. I thought it would be a good idea. I got tired of getting yelled at as a pilot. Following the magenta line, I wanted to know why I was getting yelled at, so wound up joining ZGX in 2021. Really got into it, and then staff there at the time, allowed me to be a mentor, and off I went. I've held roles as mentor, currently an instructor, held the DATM and TA role. As far as relevant in-role life experience, I've been in hospital IT management since 2011, whether it's project management, field support. Currently, not recently, or recently, they actually promoted me to be an engineering manager. So a lot of, I was going to say, a lot of courses and a lot of training during that time, even at my own workplace, just to cover this topic. One of the proudest moments I have as a leader at my organization is I've been able to promote approximately 30 to 40 people from my field support team to engineering roles or other roles within our organization. So I'm, when Bryn and Asher reached out and said, hey, anyone had any topics? I knew that there's a lot of promotion and opportunities within VATUSA, so I wanted to share what I tell my actual associates at work, on what's going to be the best, how can you be the best candidate for a position that you're interested in? And hopefully we'll answer all those questions today. But I didn't want to be the only yapper on screen today. Dylan Lundberg is going to be helping me yap. Dylan, tell us a little about yourself.
Hi, everyone. Well, I originally joined VATSIM in 2007 after meeting some friends of mine that are also some ATMs around the division right now on FSX on the Game Spy multiplayer servers. But anyway, joined VATSIM in 2007. Since then, I've been around a lot. This is I'm currently the Memphis ATM. It's my third time being an ATM, formerly at Seattle way back in the day, and then Honolulu before that or after that. And then I even did a stint as a VATUSA staff member for a bit there, right before the pandemic, and a little bit during it. But otherwise, yeah, I've been around VATUSA a lot. A lot of people know me, a lot of people don't. But for those who don't, I've been around a long time. I've seen a lot of things, especially on the network. But aside from the network stuff, in the real world, I was a volunteer firefighter and a paramedic for 7 or 8 years. And I was also a human resources manager for a big movie theater chain. Managed their Northeast operation for a bit, so New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, Massachusetts, all the states up there. And then right now, in the pandemic, I didn't want to work for anybody anymore, so I actually moved to Southwest Florida and started my own business down here. So keeps me busy for those who know me and do a lot of training with me. Sometimes I have to reschedule a lot of stuff, but keeps me busy.
Right, thank you, Mr. Dillon. So I kind of want to start out with what I call the whys and the why nots. Why should you become a staff member? You always want to make sure your heart and your mind are in the right place before you take any role, whether it's here on VATUSA or in your professional career. You want to take a role that's right for you and right for the organization. So we're going to go over a couple of those. As I mentioned earlier, why did I join VATUSA and ZGX? For me, it was just to learn. And I think that goes for any position you apply for in real life. Hopefully, whatever you apply for, you're not going in there to be, the master of your domain. You're there to learn a little bit more about whatever it is you're doing in the organization you are in. I originally came from retail, and then all of a sudden I got into hospital life. I was in retail. I was learning about credit card machines and cameras and why they're important and how they affect bottom line for theft. Then all of a sudden it was like a completely different genre for me moving into a hospital. So I was interested in that, which really gave me a good sense of, learning about the community that I live in as well. Another good why is to enhance your skills. When I joined my organization, I wasn't in leadership. I didn't jump right into leadership. Even when I did become a leader, I didn't know how to lead right away. I had some ideas in my head, but over the course of the time I've been a leader at my organization, I've just learned more and more, and I made plenty of mistakes along the way. But so just enhancing your skills that you already have is going to be a big part of a why to join a position. The next bullet point is obviously improve your community. I have the pleasure of working for a hospital system. I'm very, humbled to be part of a hospital organization in real life. Really humbled to be part of ZJX, that I get to help the people around me. There's plenty of times I've had conversations with even leaders above me just to give them support. So just because you are not in a leadership position, or maybe you have leaders above you, reaching out to that leader above you is always a great thing to do. So you're looking to improve the community, not only to the ones you serve, but to the ones you help out as well. So always keep that in mind. So that's a good reason on why to join a position. And then the other why is self-confidence. When I first became a manager of an entire IT department, boy, I was scared. Like, if something goes wrong and a whole hospital goes down, that is a humbling experience. But over time, getting used to doing the work that I do, I got more self-confidence. If you think about here at VATUSA, and if you guys are going through your journey here at VATUSA and in your personal RTech, you started in S1, you're nervous, man. I've done tons of checkouts, and the students are nervous. But over time, as you get your repetitions, you do your sweat boxes, you do your live sessions, that confidence builds. And that goes for any position you take on, whether, like I said, whether it's here on the VATUSA teams or your RTech teams. So confidence, building that self-confidence is an important thing. Now, so why not, when it comes to any role, you want to make sure you have the time to do whatever you want to do. You just don't want to be like, oh, that's the next position, let me just go after that, right? You want to make sure you have time to dedicate to whatever role you want to do. Whether it's on the training staff at your RTech or more of the technical staff, make sure you have the time and be present. Because if you become that absent trainer or you become that absent staff member on the technical teams, the whole RTech feels it. So you want to make sure if you're assigned to be someone's trainer, that you're there with them the entire time, making sure you're available to them. So making sure you have the dedicated time. If you like to work alone, that's not the whole point about joining a team is to be part of the team. If you're constantly feel like I could do this better if I just do it by myself, that's probably not the right culture or attitude you want to bring into any position. You want to make sure you want to be part of the team. And I'm not saying that you're not extremely talented at what you do, but you always got to work with a team, especially with all the positions in your RTechs. They're so interconnected, just because you're a webmaster doesn't mean you don't affect the training department. The training department doesn't have a system to keep track of training notes. It doesn't work out. And the training department just affects the webmaster. If we're not there helping to assist them with, hey, we need this training note to float over to the VATUSA, so when we do a checkout, it all works. It's all interconnected. Training and events work very closely together. So working alone is just not going to work. It is a team-based thing to join staff, especially here at VATUSA. Another bad reason to join a position is just to prove something, right? Once again, you want to make sure you keep that team mentality. It's not a you versus someone else in your RTech. It's not an RTech versus RTech. It's not a division versus division. I think we all should be humbled on the amazing community that VATSIM as a whole is. I've met so many friends. I've met new friends, new groups of people as I part of the various different teams on VATSIM, and that's what it's all about. And I see it every once in a while, in RTech, oh, this RTech does this and this RTech does that. There's no benefit to it. There isn't. Now, if we all were reaching out and helping each other, that's, let us help out that other RTech. That's where the real benefits and rewards are. So if you want to be a leader, you have to be the one who wants to reach out and help someone, not the one who goes out just to prove that the other guy is wrong. You're not going to be a good leader at that point. And then the other why not is you see something that needs to be fixed, and that can be a good reason and a bad reason. Brandon Wenning has asked me to join a interview one time, and I remember the interviewee. It was for a role at ZGX RTech. I got to be part of the interview staff, and one of the candidates was like, I want to fix ZGX. I'm just thinking to myself, am I broken? Are the controllers that control with me broken? None of us are broken. What are you trying to fix? So don't go in with like you see this one thing wrong and you have to fix it. It's one of those things where you want to ask feedback. What can I do for you? Not what am I going to do to you, right? So there's a very distinct difference between that. And as you guys have any questions or any feedback, just a reminder, put it in the seminars AMA chat, or you can put it in the chat here in the stage as well. I'm welcoming any questions you might guys may have along the way. So what will you need to take a leadership role, whether it's here in VATUSA or in the real world? The first one I'm going to say is adaptability. My employees in real life, I've told them this a million times. The only constant is change, and you have to go along with those changes. I remember my early years of IT. IT guys walked around like they were the gods of their domain, and they just treated everyone like they were silly, like they didn't know what they were doing. Over time, that just became a toxic culture within IT departments. IT departments weren't the teams you went to when you needed help. You went to them only begrudgingly because you had to. And over time, when I first took over the field services team over at the hospital system I work at, I had to change the thinking. And I said, you guys have to adapt to your customers. The customers don't have to adapt to you. So just making sure you adapt to whatever the culture and the community you're in is going to be huge. If you're a leader, you're definitely listening. If you're the one talking all the time and not listening, that's not leadership. That is not leadership. You got to be the one who's listening. And sometimes someone will bring something your way. Sometimes you just have to listen. You don't even have to act. Sometimes a person will just feel better if they felt heard rather than regurgitating. So listening is a very good skill. Let them finish their thoughts. Let them finish their ideas. Obviously, empathy and sympathy. Working for a hospital system, that's on overdrive. But if you can even relate it to here at VATUSA, I'm not sure if we have a raise the hand feature, but raise your hand or put a comment in there. If you've ever been part of an F&O where you got absolutely ran over by traffic, right? I think we all been there at some point. Now, if your neighboring RTech doesn't go out there and ask, what do you need? And they just, they send you stacks, they don't give you MIT, whatever it is. Just imagine if they never listened, right? You got to have empathy and sympathy. If they're not responding, saying, hey, what do you need? Maybe they're busy, right? They're probably not responding to you because they don't like you. Maybe they're just genuinely busy. I've had to learn that over time in my leadership career, that I would always pick on the other teams. I'm like, man, why are you not doing this? I need you to do this, and you're not doing it. Which got me nowhere, absolutely nowhere. But when I changed it, and I changed the thoughts and the questions around that, and I said, hey, what do you need from me so we can both be successful in this direction? It was a different conversation, right? And maybe sometimes they'll just say, I just need help. And they're so busy and they can't even articulate what the help they need. At that point, sometimes you got to start thinking on your own on how can you help someone, because maybe they're just so busy they don't have the time or the we'll call it frequency time, because we all have been there, to articulate it. They have so many planes they can't even tell you what's wrong. So having that sympathy and empathy is going to be a huge thing, and it goes along with the collaboration. If you have that sympathy and empathy, you're just going to naturally start collaborating with whoever you need to work with. And I think that's something the current USA administration has been striving to do, is bringing that collaboration in. So that's what you're going to need as a leader, or even taking a staff role here at VATUSA, is the collaboration is huge. It's key. It's what makes things from good to great to amazing, right? So it's definitely the collaboration. Open-mindedness, something you'll need as a leader. And what do I mean by open-mindedness? I would say early in my VATUSA career, I would say there was a bigger division. There was division of the old school VATSIM controllers and staff, and the new younger crowd that was coming in. We've always done it this way. Why can't we do it this way? It was like that division. And sometimes you need that open-mindedness to be like, whatever your point of view, just listen to the other point of view. Maybe you don't have to agree with it, but maybe just understand it. Make them feel like they're heard, right? And then you might say, hey, we'll take half of my idea and half of your idea, and it's going to be something amazing. But you got to have that open-minded. You can't just shut people down because you don't like the idea. At least give each idea the time and the consideration it deserves. And then obviously self-motivation. There is not going to be a teacher who's going to be writing you to make sure your assignments are done. That can definitely be said once you get a job outside school, or even some of the VATUSA positions. You got to do your work. You got to do your work. No one's going to do it for you. No one's going to remind you to do it. So definitely be self-motivated. What you learn once you start taking leadership roles or start taking staff positions, decision making, that's something that comes with experience and time. There's not going to be this amazing college course that's going to teach you decision making. But that also comes with, if you look at my previous slide, the self-confidence. The more self-confidence you have, you're going to be a better decision maker, especially when you start bringing in the open-mindedness and collaboration. So you'll definitely learn some decision-making skills. Problem solving. And it's not solo problem solving. Once again, it's that collaboration problem solving. Don't feel like whatever problem you have is just on you. Ask for advice. Ask for someone's experience. But the problem solving, as you start, you start fixing one thing and another thing and helping this person and helping that person, it's going to enhance your own problem solving skills. As a leader, delegation is huge, and knowing when to delegate and what to delegate. Could be a master class of its own, to be honest with you. When I first took my first manager role, I didn't delegate. I just felt like I had to solve every problem myself, and I drowned. My director took me into his office. He's like, "Hey, you got to start establishing trust." So trusting my own associates that if I did give them something, to trust them that they will get it done and do the job right. So learning how to delegate, it's not going to say take all your work and give it to someone else. That's not delegation. But giving people the opportunities to grow and excel, that's delegation. Having an enhanced self-awareness is definitely going to be key. No one's going to do their job 100% right. I know I have never done my job 100% right. And taking that time to absorb the feedback, knowing, man, sometimes you just gotta admit, man, I messed up. I didn't do it right. And that's something every leader should learn, that they make mistakes too. And that's perfectly fine. It's what you do with that mistake that really defines you. Are you gonna kind of do a pity party over it? It's probably not gonna be the best thing. But saying, hey man, I learned from this, I'm gonna make sure this doesn't happen again. Having that self-awareness of, I can better myself. Conflict resolution, that's probably the thing that drives me nuts the most in my real life job. It's not the technical things that come towards me. It's usually, the interpersonal conflicts. And how do you work past them? That's going to be one of the hardest things to learn as a leader, but you will learn it over time and usually through experience. There are plenty of techniques out there on conflict resolution. That could probably, once again, be its own course. But conflict resolution is something you learn as you have time and years of experience in leadership. And then the thing I hope every person learns if they take a staff role or they take a leadership position is relationship building. If you constantly throw partner teams under the bus, they're not going to be so receptive of helping you in the future. The things I used to stress to my technicians, I'm like, if you constantly say to the engineers, no, that's not my job, and then if your goal is to be an engineer, that engineer is going to be on your interview panel someday. And he's going to remember you saying, no, that's not my job. How likely is he going to want to have you on his team as a partner in the future? Probably won't. So building those relationships, being open to learn, being open to doing just a little bit extra, even though it's not part of your job description. Once again, that goes to the collaboration, empathy and sympathy, and the open-mindedness. So any questions on the qualities you would need or the qualities you will learn in leadership? All right, moving right along. So what are leadership pitfalls? What are the things a bad leader is going to do? I like to show what the good things they do, and what are the things that will trip you up. As your leader, if you're always right, you're doing something wrong. Letting you know right off the bat. There's plenty of times where I thought I was doing something right, and boy, it just blow up in my face. So don't be the leader that's always right. Be the leader that says, hey, how can I do better? They don't ask for differentiating opinions or feedback. Asking for feedback and asking for other opinions, it may not always change what you think is the right thing, but it gives you time to pause and think about other paths you didn't even think of, other opportunities you didn't think of. So if you're not asking for opinions and feedback, you're not going to be a good leader. Ask for those things. Because and I said in the previous slide, conflicting with partner teams. That is something I would say that is getting better in the corporate environments. It depends on where you work. Personally, where I work, there was always conflict between partner teams. And I think it's a great cultural revolution, at least in my workplace, that we're doing away with that. It's stop throwing the other team underneath the bus anytime they do something wrong, and reaching out and saying, hey, how can I help you recover? How can I make it better? Let's work together and let's solve the thing at the same time. Even though it's not my area, there might be something I can help with. So if you're constantly going to be saying, well, they did that, it's not helpful. That's not leadership. If you constantly get offended by questions, you will always have a person who's going to question you on what your beliefs and what your direction is. It's going to happen. And if you just shoot them down and say, because I said so, you're not really building trust with whoever's asking that question. You want to start establishing trust with whoever your membership is or whoever your associates are. If you get offended every time they ask a question, that means you're not listening. Remember, that was one of the things I said you have to have if you want to be a good leader. So if you're a person who gets offended just by questions, it's probably not going to work out. And there is a very big difference between feedback and criticism. Someone kept on telling me, you're doing this wrong. You're doing this wrong. You're doing this wrong. What am I doing wrong? Teach me. If they say, hey, Damien, if you constantly take your traffic and, maybe you turn them right 30 degrees and then put them on course, you're going to give me some more MIT and help me out there. That's feedback. Telling me I'm not doing controlling right is just criticism. So feedback is what you want to aim for. And sometimes criticism can help you, but you need to make sure, take it as an opportunity to learn, as opposed to kind of like taking it to heart. You'll be constantly getting feedback and criticism throughout your career, and what you do with it is going to really change the direction on how you are as a leader. So there's been plenty of times I've received feedback and criticism for the work I used to do. I used to be that lone wolf back in the day. I just thought everything, if I just did everything myself, it'd be better because I have 100% control and nothing could go wrong. And I was a great technician back in the day. But I wasn't teaching the other technicians along the way. And then my manager came to me and says, hey, you're not a good technician as much as you're a good technician. And I just took it personally and I shut down. And then eventually he had to really pull me off to the side and coach me and mentoring me. He says, hey, if you want to go from just a good technician to a good leader, teach the other technicians to be as good as you. And that's what's going to put you on a leadership path. If I never had that conversation, if I never got that criticism and feedback, I wouldn't be as successful as I am today. And then usually this comes with self-confidence, but presenting problems without potential solutions. We're all going to encounter problems. This is an exercise I used to do with my technicians all the time, and I'm really doing it with my engineers today. You found a problem. That's awesome. Thank you for letting me know. But what are some ways out of it? How do we get over that problem? How do we solve that problem? How do we prevent that problem, right? So being a good leader or a good associate is just not finding problems, but it's coming with the solution to that problem. So definitely if you're a leader, if I'm as a manager and I went to my director and I said, hey, there's a problem, and I didn't provide a couple ideas or solutions to that, nothing's going to get fixed at that point. So make sure you're always coming with, if you do identify a problem, what are some potential solutions to go along with it? A couple of quotes that I did some research on that really called to me as I read them. A good leader takes a little more than his share of the blame and a little less of the share of the credit. Whenever my team makes a mistake, I'm usually the one who takes the bullets. When my team does something right, I take myself out of the equation. I give them all the credit. That's how you build a good rapport for those who are, if you're, closer to higher leadership. That's how you earn the respect and trust of the ones that are trying to help you out, your associates. So making sure, don't take all the glory from all the work that they do, and be there to be their umbrella when something does go wrong. The task of a leader is to get his people from where they are to where they have not been. So if you're an ATM or a DATM today and you have that assistant, events coordinator, or you have that mentor, you should start thinking about, how do I get that mentor to be an instructor? How do I get that assistant events coordinator to be an events coordinator, whether it's in your home RTech or another RTech? How can they be, the next USA 5, right? Start thinking about whatever staff you have today and how do you get them to the next level. So always keep that in mind. And then it's essential employee trust, reward those whose perspective, ability, and judgment are radically different from yours. It is also rare for it requires uncommon humility, tolerance, and wisdom. So once again, that just goes with the open-mindedness and not shutting down any ideas that someone might bring to you. What I want to start going over now is some of the positions within VATUSA and your RTECs. What the typical RTEC is looking for in the various positions. So when you do apply for those positions, you kind of know what to expect in those interviews and what's going to be expected of you if you take those roles. Training roles, which are near and dear to my heart. I've done a lot of training at my actual organization, having a team of over 50 for almost 8 years, and I got a team of 25 now. it's my job as their leader to make sure they get enhanced training so they be either successful and excel in their position or get them to the next level. So training roles, the entry role, you got mentors, instructors, and assistant training administrators. You do have the technical roles within an RTech, which are the assistant facility engineers, the assistant webmasters, and of course, lead facility engineers and webmasters themselves. You got community roles. That's going to be your event coordination staff, whether the assistant or the actual events coordinator. I've seen some RTechs have community and social media teams that do reach out, which are amazing. I think that's definitely an area of growth within VATUSA and the RTechs, just to bring in, that more social media engagement. Then, of course, you have the RTech senior staff, the air traffic manager, the deputy air traffic manager, and the training administrators. Mentors, this can vary. Some RTechs require S2s, some will bring you on as S1s, but this is going to be your entry level position within an RTech as far as training. It's a great exploring role and a learning role. I've probably learned more being a new mentor than I did than going through actual training. I took the time to study. I took the time to learn all the material. I'll be honest with you, I was vain. I didn't want to be the guy that looked like he was doing something wrong, right? So that is a great position. It's a great learning position. You're going to learn more about 7110.65. You're going to learn more about the documentation of an RTech, and how to not just say, hey, you're wrong, but guiding someone to the right information. The instructors within an RTech, to me, they are the drivers of quality. They're going to make sure that every controller within the RTech, when they check them out, they are rock solid. They're going to be a great team member for everyone else because they have all the knowledge they need. Instructors should also be the role models for any other mentors. If you check out students from the same mentor and they keep doing the same mistakes, if you just keep failing the student, that mentor is never going to learn what they need to change. So instructors are a very important part of the RTech to make sure, hey, let me work with this mentor so all their students are successful in the future. Assistant training administrators, they get involved in what I was more of the minutia of the training department, making sure students are showing up to their classes. Usually, I think most RTechs are twice a month, making sure they're reaching out to students to make sure their mentors and their instructors are giving them everything they need. Definitely a good stepping stone to a senior role. The facility engineers and the webmasters, those are the technical roles within the RTech. Facility engineers, kudos to the VNAS guys. They create a great system when it's come to CRC. I think CRC and the VNAS has been an absolute godsend for VATUSA. I hope it grows to other divisions within VATSIM. But the facility engineers are going to make sure they're going to be doing working with the actual Freedom of Information Act, getting those video maps from actual RTechs to update our own video maps within CRC. They work on the ground maps. Every time an airport change, a facility engineer has to make those changes, right? And we know that the AirACs get updated once every 28 days, 13 times a year, and the facility engineer has to be the guy who's keeping track of all that. So not only are you just interacting with the CRC team and the VNAS team, you're also interacting with actual real-world RTechs at that point. That sounds pretty awesome to me. And then they also, the frequencies that we use on the VATSIM network, they work with those. I know every once in a while you have one frequency that overlaps another frequency. The two facility engineers, they need to collaborate. So those, maybe they tweak the frequencies, use another frequency, and maybe kind of rearrange them a little bit. And they also help with some of the procedures of the ARTTech. The webmasters, I always say the website is the heart of an ARTTech. That's where all our information is. It gives us the links to how to get started. It tells us when the next event is. It tells us, I love to see it. A lot of the ARTTechs are doing live events again. That's amazing. It all starts with the website, right? That is the source of all the information about ARTTech. So if the website doesn't work, and that the blood flow of the ARTTech doesn't work. So if you ever see a webmaster, webmasters in real life, they make good money. And we got to thank all the webmasters within VATUSA. They do this as on a volunteer basis. So make sure you say thank you to your webmaster for a working website. So that way the ARTTech, all the information flows nicely within the ARTTech. The community roles. The events coordinator, he is I would say he's more representative of an ARTTech than sometimes the ATM or DATM. They will work with the neighboring ARTTechs a lot of collaboration there, especially when you've got the F&Os that they're planning. Those are usually multi-ARTTech and they have to work together. Even the training department will work with the events department to help with things with MIT, which is Miles and Trail. Or you start thinking about across the pond, we have edict times and all that other stuff. Events coordinator is deep into that, right? They're there to represent their ARTTech, make sure no harm comes to them, and also how can we help their neighboring ARTTech? How do we make sure we don't screw them over, right? So events coordinators are so huge and they're so collaborative. So if you have strong collaboration skills, you got strong people skills, think about an events coordinator. A lot of ARTTechs, you can even be an events coordinator starting at S2. So start thinking about that. Some ARTTechs, like I said, do have social media and outreach teams. I still think that is the biggest area where all ARTTechs can grow personally. Getting a bigger social media presence, bring more people to the hobby we all love. I think this is a great community, and having more people be a part of it, I think it's only a good thing. And now you got the senior staff roles. This is, where you got to have a lot of good time management. This is where you definitely have to be self-motivated when you start taking these roles. I know when I was DATM for Jacksonville for a little bit, it was right after COVID, work started getting back to normal for me. And I felt like I wasn't doing enough as a DATM. And I wound up stepping down because I didn't think I had enough time commitment to all the work I need to be doing. So these are definitely time commitments more than some of the other roles, but they are so foundational to each and every ARTTech. Training administrators, that is, they have to work with students that may not be catching on. We all love the student who catches on, has 2 sessions and passes their checkout in one try. But not every student learns the same. And something a training administrator does is work with his or her staff and make sure the training staff adjusts to the student doesn't adjust to the training staff. They will make sure the policies are there to make sure, once again, the quality of the ARTTech stays high. The DATM, kudos to all the DATMs out there. That's usually, sometimes they get put in disciplinarian roles, and sometimes they have to, do a little investigations on conduct and stuff like that. But they're also there to help the events coordinators and the webmasters and stuff like that. So they definitely help resolve inter-ARTTech conflicts. but their support roles to the ECs and the webmasters can't be understated. And then the ATMs. They're going to be the ones to provide a direction of an RTech. Are they going to be the amazing training person? Are they going to be the amazing webmaster? Are they going to be the amazing events coordinator? Maybe, but they're not there to fulfill all those roles. They're there to help give direction to the RTech, put the RTech in the right direction, give it everything they need. It's more of a reaching out leadership position. Remember when I said leaderships have to listen? That is very key at the ATM role. It's the listening. That's going to be the biggest aspect of the ATM role. And it's listening to your partner RTechs, and it's listening to your own members of your own RTech. So, and they will all, all the ATMs do get together with division staff, and they all come together to meet some of the division goals that we're trying to do. So that is what I have. Those are all the positions. I wasn't going to a litany about all the USA positions, but I want to, since we have about 15 minutes left, I definitely want to leave it open for any questions, concerns, rotten fruit thrown in my general direction, or just feedback. Or if Dylan, you want to add on, that's fine too.
Yeah, I was gonna add on a few things throughout, but I didn't want to mess up your flow. You're on it. Anyway, yeah. So a few things I had jotted down during this was going back to the what you'll need and what you'll learn portion. Collaboration, right? So remember, collaboration doesn't always look the exact same way each and every time. The bigger I guess goal for me anyway with collaboration is that you just keep it consistent with how, or excuse me, asking for that collaboration. Like as an ATM, for example, there are things in Memphis that, I have an idea on what I think we need to do or how we should go about, enforcing a certain thing or getting a certain thing done. And there are times where, I'll hold a staff meeting, right? And I'll talk to my actually very large staff staff team, because we have a lot of people on our events team, social media teams, and all that jazz. But sometimes my collaboration, is in a form of a meeting, or sometimes it's, hey, let's chat over Discord for 10 or 15 minutes. And sometimes even, especially with this TeamSpeak / Discord war we have going on in ZME anyway, it's a big conversation that involves everybody in the RTech. And the bigger thing that, for me anyway, with the collaboration is that it remains consistent, and that not every decision I make is solely my opinion or my what I think that we should do. And then the other thing too with collaboration is sometimes it fails, right? Sometimes it's not always going to be, okay, yeah, we all met and we all came to a common consensus, right? You might get into a staff meeting, like I said, for example, and talk about this, again, TeamSpeak versus Discord thing, with the goal of having a decision made at the end that everybody agrees on. And the next thing you know, you have 15 different opinions on the matter, right? And that's not necessarily a bad thing, right? It just means that, hey, maybe you need to expand the collaboration a little more. Maybe we need to include more people, or maybe we need to ask different questions about the subject, or look at it from somebody else's point of view. And that kind of leads me into the next thing in regards to decision making, is specifically speaking as an ATM, be prepared. You're not always going to make the decision that everybody likes, right? There might be a time where, let's say there's a big disciplinary issue that's spreading among your members, that, somebody did something wrong, and then maybe they didn't see the back end, conversations that happened about it, and now they're doing the same thing, and then somebody else is doing the same thing. And you have to come up with something to say to the whole RTech, or come up sometimes even in the form of a new policy that says, hey, listen, we can't be doing this. And, we need to get a grip on it. And sometimes those decisions are unpopular. But going back to what Damien was saying about asking for feedback, that's a big thing. Is after you make those decisions, once you see they're unpopular, and again, there are some times where decisions that are unpopular need to stay those decisions, but there are other times where, okay, maybe as me as the ATM, yes, of course, I don't want XYZ happening in the facility or within the community, but maybe there's a better way to go about it, as opposed to just saying, hey, we can't do this because, you know what I mean? So those were my two big things that I wanted to talk about earlier. And then most recently when Damien was talking about the staff team, a big reason why, community roles, yep, all that's fine. A big reason why Memphis, for example, why we have a big staff team, like I said, our training team, we have 15, I think upwards of 20 now instructors and mentors. Our events team is 5 or 6. Our social media team is growing, 8 or 9 now. The reason why those teams are so big is so not everybody can be, or not any one person, I should say, is going to be overwhelmed with the work that they have to do, right? And that goes back into the collaboration and the teamwork aspect of working in a team environment, is that everybody does their part, and the leaders of each department delegate certain responsibilities and certain tasks to each and everybody, and it all comes together at the end, right? So my social media team might be working on a bunch of videos that they're going to publish on YouTube about, I don't know, events. And while they're doing that, the events team is coming up with the different events and the different operational goals of those events and things like that. So moral of the story is, when it comes to staff teams, not always the bigger the better, but when it comes in specifically to a volunteer organization like VATSIM and VATUSA specifically, is that as long as everybody on the team is doing their part and doing it effectively, not any one person should feel overwhelmed, and it just adds to that team environment. So those were the things I wanted to add on. So thank you, Damien, for giving me that time. And yeah, I guess I think we're ready for some questions, and I think we have a few.
Yep, we got the first question here is, any good advice for a S1 looking for more roles in his or her RTech while waiting to get into S2, S3 so I can actually do said roles? Each RTech is going to be a little different on where they start allowing staff roles. What I would do is start reaching out to those who are already in staff roles. Ask them more specifically, hey, what do I need to work on, or what can I bring to the table? So once I get my S2, that I could totally jump into a role. Definitely ask those questions and don't be shy about it. If those people who are in those roles, if they're good leaders, once again, they shouldn't be afraid of the questions. They should be like, hey, this is what you're going to need. So it's don't be shy and go ahead and ask those questions. And asking, is there anything I can help out with? How can I help? And the answer might be, hey, we don't need to help right now, but don't let that be a discouragement. Definitely start asking those follow-up questions on, like, once I do get my S2, what are the things I need that's going to be make me a great candidate to be an assistant events coordinator or assistant webmaster or a mentor. Usually I tend to work more with training staff, and usually sometimes I just find a great student before they even ask. I will find an S1, S2. I'll listen to them in a checkout and listen to how they handle the virtual airplanes, some of the fake airplanes in a sweatbox. I will listen to how they interact with other people in the Discord. I'm like, hey, you got a great self-confidence about you. You got a great positive attitude. Have you thought about a position? I think that's what probably needs to happen more than the other way around. I think our tech staff should be reaching out to maybe non-staff controllers and be like, hey, man, that was great. What you did today was great. What do you think about a staff position? I think it should actually be the other way around, and we should be encouraging more people to have larger staff. to me, if you're the more staff you have a more engaged RTech at that point.
Yeah, it's a very good way to say it. And to add on to that, and that specific stance that Damien just said, reaching out to those members, is exactly how how Memphis's social media team started. I had somebody join the Artec who, up until they joined Memphis anyway, they weren't a staff member. They didn't do anything extra beyond the just controlling and putting in tons and tons of hours. And I noticed that they were really good at their own personal YouTube channel and stuff like that. And I said, hey, let's have a conversation and talk about that. And now that team has, in the past year, grown to 9 or 10, and they're putting out quality content. So that's a very good point, Damien, and I agree with you there.
The next question is from Ty. Is there any specific time frame available online recommended for an EC or an FE role? I'm definitely going to say an EC. I'm pretty sure some facility engineers are going to send me nasty grams, but I do feel like the events coordinator is a bigger time commitment. There is usually a lot more events, because it's not just the events of your RTech, it's the events of your neighboring RTechs. And sometimes those neighboring RTechs, it could go another second deep, a tier 2 neighbor. So I just feel like the ECs, you're definitely talking about maybe 5 to 10 hours a week, a little bit, just to make sure you're having that collaboration with your own AECs and the ECs of other neighboring RTechs. Because if they have an event, they need to work with you. If you have an event, you need to work with them. So I would definitely say the EC is a bigger time commitment. FE for the facility engineers, I feel like that has ebbs and flows. If you have a lot of air act changes within your airspace, they're going to get busy. Because not only do they have to update training files, they have to update video maps, they have to update procedures, which is a lot of work. And usually the FAA does, I think it's usually a month or 2 weeks ahead of time do they release those changes. And then there might be times where there's no changes and you won't have to do nearly as much. So I would think, once again, if it's a big air act change to your RTech, you're talking about the 5 to 10 hours a week. There isn't many RTech air act changes. It might be just 1 or 2 hours. So I think the facility engineer role, the time availability of a facility engineer definitely varies, but the events coordinator, that's pretty consistent. You're going to want 5 to 10 hours a week. That's just my opinion, though. Dylan, you got thoughts on that one?
No, you hit it right on the nose. My FE especially is hard at work on a monthly basis, especially with the changes coming to Nashville. So
for those who, this one is from John. For those of us who are already staff members or have been staff members, how can we encourage others to give it a shot, especially in the more difficult, complex roles we sometimes have trouble filling? I think, once again, that goes a lot to mentorship, and positivity goes a long way. If you're definitely a hiring position within an RTech and you have staff roles and you see bright talent on your RTech team, you need to proactively be reaching out. You need to be having a conversation, but bring specifics into the conversation. Man, I saw you work with the ground controller while you were on local today, and there was great coordination, and you were helping him and mentoring him on some of the things he made mistakes, and you didn't do it in a condescending way. You did it in a positive way. Said, hey, next time try this. Be sure to call out the good things that they're doing. Build up their self-confidence so they want to do this role. I think most people do not apply for a role because they're not confident on it. They don't have that self-confidence. They're kind of, they just kind of want to hide over here. Definitely take what they're doing right and congratulate them on it, celebrate it. And that's what's going to build up their confidence to want to take a role within an RTech. We got a question from Elliot. What skills will we learn that will turn to valuable real world scenarios? What skills translate into the real world? I hate to say all of them, but all of them. So I'm going to go back up my slides here. Now, what you need, I did not come up with this slide from the stuff I learned from VATUSA. I came up with a slide from all my experiences I had in the real world. There's plenty of times where I see things, sometimes even within ZGX, sometimes outside ZGX, where I'm like, man, if they had a little bit more sympathy and empathy for another team, or if we just collaborated a little bit more, or man, I wish this person was a little self-motivated, we can do something right. That's all from my real world experience. So any role you take within VATUSA, you're going to learn those skills and they're going to be immediately, it's definitely going to help you immediately in a role outside of work. It's the humility and humbleness. Just don't think you took a role at VATUSA, you're going to go straight into leadership. Sometimes that experience of just being a controller over and over again, and then becoming a staff position is just as valuable. But all those skills that you learn, and all those skills I put here, those are all things I've seen here and all things I've learned out in the real world. So any experience on a VATUSA position is going to translate into the real world. Did I miss any other questions, Asher? I don't see anything else. Got one more guy typing. He stopped typing. Okay. Anything else from any other questions, concerns, rotten fruit thrown in my general direction? All right. Everyone knows my name now who's been in this seminar. Feel free to DM me if you have any questions afterwards. I'm very active within the ZGX Hardtech too. So if you have any questions, you need any mentoring, I think we're good. Asher, I'll just hand it right back off to you, sir.
Hello.
There you go.
Cool. Yeah, that sounds good. So we'll go ahead and wrap it up here for tonight. Good discussion from both of you. Really do appreciate all the work. Thanks again for the hard work putting really the presentation, all of this together. Time took to present and answer those questions. All of that does not go unnoticed. And we really appreciate everyone who also showed up and participated. So these guys are around. We're around. We're always around the division, so feel free to comment to them or us if you ever have any questions or comments. The feedback form's in the thread. I'll post it in there. It's in the chat as well. So do fill that out, and the recording's going to go up on YouTube as soon as I get to it at some point this week. Cool. Anything else, Dad? No?
No, I just want to thank the USA staff for allowing me to do this presentation. I appreciate it.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
thanks for having
And
me.
we'll talk here in a second. But if you guys want to move down and continue the party, you can. But otherwise, have a good night, everyone. Close this out.
Night, everybody. Thank you for attending.
Good night.